So let's talk about salt, sea salt. Let's talk about sea salt. Because I hear this a lot, there's a little bit of confusion. I just want to clear up the confusion when it comes to salt. Number one, when you have hyperthyroidism or hypothyroidism, you can have high blood pressure. Okay, so keep an eye on that. That's number one. If you have hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism and you think you might be salt sensitive, maybe start checking your blood pressure fairly often. There's blood pressure monitors that you can purchase. They're pretty, well, they're all very good, at least the ones that I've come across, accurate. I have my patients bring their blood pressure monitors in, their home blood pressure monitors, and I have them check it according to what my blood pressure monitor is doing and make sure that I call it calibrated, make sure that they're both accurate. According to one another. And so if like the home blood pressure monitor is old and it's way off compared to what I've checked, then I'm like, it's time to get a new one or get it fixed. And so if you're interested in that and you're coming to an appointment with me, bring your blood pressure monitor. Let's make sure that it's accurate. Something else that you can be doing to look at your relationship with salt is like, well, I take sea salt, so that's good for me, right? And yeah, salt's an essential mineral. So it's going to help regulate our blood pressure, as well as too much in a salt-sensitive person can increase blood pressure, not always. What I've noticed is that with hypothyroid and hyperthyroid states, I have also found very low blood pressure in these patients. And that's something that concerns me because it's going to increase their risk of more thyroid problems because it's going to cause a stress state in the body. So I try to, talk about that. But my favorite treatment for low blood pressure is salt. It works really well. So, and people say, well, okay, so sea salt versus like Sifto. Not to pick on Sifto, but that's the most common sort of refined salt, the traditional salt that our grandparents would have had on the table. They would have been like, what do you mean sea salt? Like, here's the salt. What do you need? It's right here. No, that's not, salt's not good enough for me. What do you mean? Why? Okay. Is your sea salt pure white? Or is it kind of grayish, kind of pinkish, and a little bit wet looking? Because if it's kind of grayish, kind of pinkish, a little wet looking, that's what you want. If it's pure white, it doesn't matter if it came from the sea or the land. It's still refined salt. It's basically Sifto. Okay? You're looking for unrefined salt. So I want to change, it's my dream, one of my pipe dreams, to change the terminology in the salt health world. Away from sea salt to unrefined salt. Because think about it, I lived in Goderich. They had a Sifto mine there. They get the salt from the sea and they get it from the land. And then they refine it and they turn it into white salt. So refined salt does potentially have more of an impact on blood pressure than unrefined salt. That's still arguable in the medical literature, by the way. That's a personal belief of mine based on logic and reason. But also it's the trace minerals within that unrefined salt that I think supports the functioning. So this supports the functioning of everything. Trace minerals, that's what we're looking for. So unrefined salt, stuff that's not dry and white and too granulated, but a little bit rough looking. Iodized salt, what's that? Iodized salt, did you listen to my crazy video on iodine? Go watch it. Sifto is one of those, and all of those, I can't even remember all the other salt. I'm picking on Sifto because they're excellent. They're an excellent company, by the way. They put iodine in their salt, iodized salt. Why did that happen in the first place? Well, because actually, like the general public was getting thyroid problems, and so they put iodine in the salt, right? And so we were getting at least a little bit of iodine, just enough to not get goiters. A goiter is a big old problem in the throat, in the thyroid gland. It like expands and gets really, really big. That's a goiter, and you can actually see it visibly in the throat as a nodule coming out. It's not the same as a nodule, but it looks like a big old lump. That's a goiter. A lot of us were getting goiters because we were so iodine deficient. So they put a tiny little bit in the salt, because back then everybody used salt. It's an essential mineral. We all need some of it. So we all got some iodine as well. And that's that. In Japan, apparently, allegedly in Japan, they have an average daily intake of like 3 milligrams of iodine. Okay, the British diet, which would be very similar to a North American diet, would get between like 1.6 and 0.16 and 0.17 of a milligram per day. So that's a big difference, isn't it? Big difference. So iodine deficiency can also increase the risk of actually cancer of the breast, ovaries, and prostate. Iodine is an essential mineral. Salt is an essential mineral. So of course it's going to go hand in hand. It works well together. And the two of them are actually really good at helping to get bromides, fluorides, and chlorine out of the body. Because what happens is bromides, fluorides, and chlorine, those are called endocrine disruptors. They will like grab onto something in our endocrine system, and they'll prevent that endocrine function from occurring properly. So like thyroid function being an endocrine function. And so some of these, like, where do you get chlorine from? Where do you get fluoride from? Where do you get bromides from? I'm not gonna, you go do your research. If you've had high exposure to these, it's possible that they're called halides, okay? They're called halides. These are certain pollutants called halides, and they do certain things in the body, but they lock on and they don't let go. The only two things in the natural health world that will make those chlorides, bromides, and fluorides let go of that endocrine receptor is unrefined salt and iodine. So they also help in detoxification. Okay, so I wanted to give you that little nugget of information, not as a recommendation, not as a go and eat a whole bunch of salt and take a whole bunch of iodine. Please don't do that. It's not my recommendation. My recommendation is to talk to a doctor about it. And to use this video as a source of, maybe I should look into that. It's to make you curious, to make you ask questions and look further into solutions for yourself so you can be as optimal as possible. Okay, so that's your salt. That's your halides, endocrine dysfunctions, and a little bit more on iodine. Have a great day.